10,000 years ago, Paleo-Indians arrived in Alabama and the rest of North America via the Clovis culture. These people hunted mastodons and other Ice Age megafauna with their Clovis points, which are incredibly well-made spearheads that have become iconic of this culture. This lasted until around 8000 BC, when the glaciers began to melt and the megafauna went extinct. 9,000 years ago, new people arrived in Alabama. These people were the ancestors of today's Native Americans. Think they would live in Alabama for the next 7,000 years. 4,000 years ago, the first Mississippian cultures started to emerge. One of these would be the Adena culture, which built large earthen mounds for burial purposes. This continued until 1000 BC, when the Mississippian period ended and most of the mounds were abandoned. 1,000 years later, the Woodland period began, which lasted until 1000 AD. During this time, the Hopewell culture emerged in present-day Ohio, which would influence the rest of the Eastern Woodlands cultures. The Hopewell were known for their incredible trade network, which stretched from the Great Lakes all the way to the Appalachian Mountains and as far south as Alabama. Around 500 AD, the first towns started to appear in Alabama. This was during the Middle Woodland period. The towns were small, only having a few hundred people each, but they represent an important step in the development of Native American society in Alabama. 1,000 years later, the Late Woodland period would bring the Miss Alabama culture to power. They would build large fortified towns, but unlike the earlier Mississippian cultures, the Miss Alabama would build their towns out of wood instead of earth. This was due to the introduction of metal tools by European traders. In the 1500s, the Spanish began exploring the Alabama coast. They were the first Europeans to make it this far inland. They didn't stay long, though, because there wasn't much wealth to be had here. In the 1600s, the French began exploring the interior of Alabama. They established a few trading posts, but again, there wasn't much wealth to be had here, so they didn't stay long. In 1704, the English established the first European settlement in Alabama. It was called Fort Toulouse. It was located near present-day Montgomery. The fort was built to protect the English from the Spanish and the French. It also served as a trading post for the English to trade with the Native Americans. For the next 50 years, the English and the French would fight over control of Alabama. The English eventually won the war and gained control of Alabama. They would rule over Alabama for the next 100 years. During this time, slavery became a big part of the economy in Alabama. The English brought over African slaves to work on plantations. This caused tension with the Native Americans who were forced off their land. In 1819, Alabama officially became a U.S. state. Slavery would continue for another 40 years. During this time, the U.S. would fight two major wars with the Native Americans. The first was the Creek War of 1813 to 1814, and the second was the Seminole War of 1835 to 1842. Both wars resulted in the removal of Native Americans from Alabama. In 1860, the U.S. would split over the issue of slavery. In 1861, Alabama would officially secede from the Union and join the Confederacy. The U.S. would fight the Civil War against the Confederacy. The Confederacy would lose the war and slavery would be abolished. After the Civil War, the U.S. would help former Confederate states like Alabama rebuild their economies through something called the American System. Through this system, the federal government would fund infrastructure projects in the South. This helped to kickstart the Southern economy. In the early 1900s, the U.S. would see the rise of the Jim Crow laws in the South. These laws were designed to keep African Americans from voting and participating in government. They were also designed to keep African Americans from getting good jobs and owning property. During World War II, Alabama would play an important role in the war effort. Many African Americans from Alabama served in the military and fought against racism, both at home and abroad. In the 1950s and 60s, the U.S. would see a civil rights movement aimed at ending Jim Crow laws and bringing equality to African Americans. Alabama would be one of the states where this movement would be fought for. Many brave men and women would put their lives on the line to fight for equality in Alabama. In the 1970s and 80s, the civil rights movement would help to bring about real change in Alabama and the rest of the South. Jim Crow laws would be overturned, and African Americans would be able to vote and participate in government. Today, Alabama is a very different place than it was 100 years ago. While it still faces many challenges, it has come a long way since the days of slavery and segregation. Here are some fun facts about Alabama. What's the capital of Alabama? That's Montgomery. How many counties are in Alabama? There are 67 counties in Alabama. What's the largest city in Alabama? That's Birmingham. How many people live in Alabama? According to the 2020 census, 5,047,000 people live in Alabama. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to learn more about the history of the United States, check out my channel. Thanks for watching.